Hey everyone, this is Daniel Fisio from EBS. So I haven't made a video in a while, but I wanna get into this series of making some videos related to my area of expertise, which is mostly injuries. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about injury reduction. So I don't want to talk about injury prevention because I see people talking about prevention all the time on Ben's comments and like on Instagram and stuff like that, like how you can prevent injury, which is not really a thing you can do because injuries are a normal part of like life. Like it's bound to happen, even if when lifting, your injury rates are very low per 1,000 hours, like it's sub 10 injuries per 1,000 hours of participation. So that's very, very low compared to like other sports such as running. For example, running has like up to 5 times more risk of injury than lifting weights. So it's overall a pretty safe sport, right? Even like powerlifting, even like high level powerlifting has a very low injury rate. So anyway, I'm gonna talk about some ways that you can like lower your risk of injury, get a little bit of an insurance, right? So first one for beginners is avoid starting too heavy, right? So one of the main reasons of injuries is doing too much too soon, going too heavy too soon. So if you're a beginner, start low, like start with lighter weights, learn the proper technique, find a technique that is repeatable and stable for you, that feels safe, that feels like uh, loadable, right? Get familiar with the movement first, and then start loading stuff, right? So don't go too heavy too soon. That's number one, like for absolute beginners, and even like if you're coming back after some time off, I would like also give you the same advice, like start loading things slowly and then increase them like slow and steady, right? So then on the same line, avoid increasing stuff too soon, because particularly connective tissues, right? So muscles are not just contractile fibers, right? It's not just the muscle tissue. It also has fascia, which is like the cover of the muscle, right? It's like the white tissue that you see on meat. And there's also like your joints, your tendons. All those don't adapt the same way that muscle does. So your strength usually goes up faster than the resistance of the other tissues, right? The passive stability of the joint that depends on like your ligaments, your tendons, all of that, usually can't catch up to your strength, especially at the beginning. You're gonna get strength adaptations very quickly, right? You're probably gonna be putting 5 or 10 kilos on the bar every week for a couple of months at least. So usually, like I would advise to just very, very slow increases, so that you can give your connective tissue some time to catch up. That's also very, very good safe. Then another one that I would say that I see all of the time is using full range of motion. So a lot of people avoid full range of motion because of the belief that fully stretching a muscle, for example, you're doing preacher curls and people avoid fully stretching the biceps because they have seen bicep tears. So they think that they will tear up their bicep, or doing squats, for example, that they're gonna hurt their knees, or doing deadlifts, right? That you're gonna if you get into too much flexion, that's gonna like, I don't know. It's part of the range of motion of the movement. I don't think that it's particularly more injurious. Um, and I also think like the other way around. If you don't train these positions and these muscle lengths, you are not, basically your body doesn't know how to react when you go into those positions, right? If you don't teach your biceps and your brain how it feels when your biceps is stretched, then you're probably not gonna be able to um, have some active muscle tension in that position, right? If you are dive bombing your your squats, for example, yeah, surely that's not good, right? But doing partials, what happens if you do like really short partials up to 90 degrees? Then what happens when it weights too heavy and you go past 90 degrees? You're gonna get absolutely wrecked. Your knees are gonna like suffer because your muscle strength, your active muscle contraction won't be able to protect you because you don't have the coordination, like the mental, the neurological adaptation to do that, the capacity to coordinate that contraction, right? So I would say do a full range of motion. And the other thing that can happen is people that do like partials on the shortened position. So for example, um, if you're doing like a bench with dumbbells and you're just doing them up here, right? You're never getting your pec into a fully stretched position. So you're probably gonna lose some range of motion. Then you're gonna have trouble squatting when you need to like grab the bar and stuff like that. So I would say just in general, my general, I don't usually throw general recommendations, but my general recommendation would be to like always use a full range of motion. Um, Unless you're doing like lengthened partials, if you're into that, that's completely fine. But I would like in general have my compounds just have full range of motion. And then speaking about compounds, I would do proper warm-ups. I know there's a lot of studies that are showing that you don't really need warm-ups for better hypertrophy and muscle gain, like muscle size. But however, I don't think there's much literature assessing what the response is of the nervous system and the muscles on strength. Like if you're doing a heavy squat with 4 plates and above, I guarantee that it's not gonna go well if you jump straight from the bar to the 4 plates, unless you're like an absolute freak that can like squat 6 plates or something. Otherwise, like you're gonna jump into that weight and you're gonna get absolutely crushed, because it's like, imagine I woke you up in the middle of the night and tell you like squeeze this hand grip like as strong as you can, like as hard as you can. You're not gonna be able to produce much force because you don't have like your nervous system isn't properly excited, right? It's kind of off. It's kind of like on a like a low, what do you call it, low excitability state, right? It needs to get primed up. So yeah, do your warm-ups on at least on compounds, I would say. That should get you prime and ready for lifting heavy. And then another one that could also help out a little bit. So some of the connective tissues are not irrigated properly. For example, the tendons don't really have um, like blood flow directly, like they don't have blood vessels. And then your articular capsule, like the joint capsule, the which is formed um, by all the connective tissue around the joint, for example, ligaments and cartilage and all of this. There's not much direct blood flow inside of the joint, so usually the joint gets its nutrition from synovial fluid. And synovial fluid is basically like a lubricant, so it's secreted when you move, basically. So one of the ways that you can get it to secrete is doing like repetitive motion, for example, such as cardio, like doing some light bicycle, uh, or like some incline walking. It's bound to keep the tissues oxygenated and with correct nutrition, lubricated. So that's also gonna have a very good positive impact on your joint health, right? Then I would make sure to have a stable, replicable technique, like I mentioned before. So a lot of the reasons that injuries happen is not because you have a spine inflection or anything like that, but when technique changes, then is that when injuries happen. So for example, If you go too heavy with your deadlift, and you usually keep a pretty neutral spine, and you go into a lot of flexion, then yeah, probably things are not gonna, like, because they're not used to the force production. You remember how I told you before about like doing the full range of motion? If you go past 90 degrees on the squat and you're not used to it, you're gonna probably get injured. Same here, right? If you lose your bracing, for example, you lose the position. That's when like muscle strains happen. Like you can perfectly pull a muscle, anything like that. Uh, a direct disc injury can happen because of lifting weights. It is very rare. It would have to be something very traumatic, probably. So I would usually not be like thinking that I would like I don't know, get herniated or anything like that. It can happen, but usually there's not much correlation between these kind of injuries and lifting weights. Like most of those like hernias occur during daily life activities. But anyway, I would always try to keep a stable, consistent technique as much as possible. And then another one that can really affect the risk of injury is recovery. So I would try to not exceed the capacity of the tissues for recovering and adapting. So basically, managing all your or your training variables such as volume, intensity. Like if you're doing very close to failure, 90% and above every session, you're probably not gonna have the capacity of recovering, and you're actually gonna get like you're gonna feel the fatigue is gonna mask your strength, and you're gonna be performing at your worst. You're gonna lose some coordination, and you're probably not gonna have the most controlled technique. You're probably gonna like be dive bombing the bar, like using the passive tissues, which is the connective tissue, to lower the impact of the bar, stuff like that. So, for example, on squats, if you dive bomb the with the bar, like your meniscus are gonna have like a big impact on them. There's gonna be a lot of tension on the ACL, stuff like that. So I would like just try to keep a weight that you can control usually. Obviously, you can max out from time to time. In general, Ben and I don't usually work with maxing out. We usually keep things fairly sub-maximal, around 92% or 96% at the end of the block, like tops usually, unless you're going into competition, but then that's a completely separate topic. But yeah, keep volume like recoverable, have like rest days. If you're gonna do high frequency, for example, we advocate doing like 3 or 4 sessions of bench a week at least, because it's the absolute load on the bar on bench usually is lower than on the other lifts, the main lifts. So usually people can handle doing 4 sessions a week, but if you're doing 4 sessions a week, then for example, say you're doing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, right? You cannot go to failure and go like RPE 9 or like doing your 95% and above every session, right? It's not sustainable. You're gonna get absolutely injured, and there's literature of when people they try to recreate the overtraining syndrome that we've seen in like endurance runners and like endurance athletes in general. So endurance is way higher volume than lifting weights and like training hypertrophy and like strength training. So they have tried to recreate with squat programs, for example. They grab a bunch of Russian guys and they have them squatting like 6 times a week or 7 times a week, like doing singles and stuff like that. And they don't, before they overtrain, they get joint pain, they get like uh, tendon pain, like they get like flared up tendons. So like it's not a good idea to do high frequency with high intensity, like high volume, right? You need to manage your training variables properly. And then another one that I would say is fairly underrated. Um, there's some really like some people that really give it more of a fault than it has, which is like PEDs. So people think that because you're using PEDs, you're immediately like gonna get injured. I don't advocate for the use of PEDs at all. I think you should probably do better by staying natty. I'm natty myself, so one of the things that does happen is that this the use of PEDs or use and abuse of PEDs as well usually comes with this all or nothing mentality. So you go like, I'm already using gear, so might as well max out, right? Or you're gonna get so much muscle, right? Because we know that the increase in muscle size from using PEDs is very high. Plus, you have around 10, 12, 15% more strength. So your connective tissue is gonna have a big problem like catching up to your strength and muscle size. So that's another factor. And since they already like have this all or nothing mentality, um, they think that because they are juicing, they can handle way more than they actually can, right? So they put more weight on the bar than they should. They do more volume than they should, and because they're not managing their training variables correctly, they still get injured, right? So I've seen a lot of people get scared of, for example, doing, I don't know, leg press. If you've seen like a leg press injury when the knee gets hyperextended, like it bends backwards, it's pretty shocking to see, pretty jarring, but it's very rare as well. And one of the common like one of the factors that I've seen like play a part in that a lot is usually like lean individuals on gear, not properly hydrated, that they report that they have been doing too much volume and that they already had some pain beforehand and they pushed anyway. So it's very important that you manage recovery properly, right? Besides the training variables, recovery is just as important. So having correct sleep and nutrition, right? It's very important to keep a proper performance, right? Because performance, like when it's not consistent, I mean, performance can have some degree of variability from session to session. Like strength is dynamic; it's not static. It's not the same every week. That's why we peak for expressions of max strength, such as going for a PR or doing a meet, a powerlifting meet or anything like that. But however, there should be a range of performance that it's according to your capability, to your base strength, to your base level of strength, meaning that on the worst day, there is a base of strength that you can do. If your recovery is impaired, that base level is going to be lower. So you're going to load a weight of the bar on the bar that should be like easy to handle. And since you're not well recovered, it's going to move like trash. You're going to feel like terrible. Your coordination is going to be impaired. And that's when injuries happen as well. So these are some of the factors that can play a part on injury reduction or injury protection. Just I would say to keep in mind from this video, like most of it is common sense. Just managing, like the most important thing I would say is managing your training variables properly. Like do like intensity, frequency, and volume. Like they go hand in hand. You cannot do like maxed out on all of them, right? Manage your recovery properly, eat properly, do some cardio, use full range of motion, probably staying natty as well. But yeah, I hope this helps you. I think it's a pretty useful topic, especially since I've seen a lot of people asking around like on the school community of EVS, and like on Ben's channel and Instagram all the time as well. So let me know if you got any questions. If you want to talk to us, if you want to get coached by us, so just top link in the description. Yeah, hope you have a good time. I will probably make a follow up to this video about what to do once you do get injured. But that will be a whole separate topic. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Have a good one.